Chapter 14. Black Star Hunters. Thursday, November 14th, 1991. It was dark, but Virgil could still see that the interior of the van was decades older than its exterior. The vehicle, from the two front bucket seats to the tinted teardrop windows at the rear, was covered in silver shag carpet. A metallic desk built into the driver's side wall was lined with rack-mounted electronic devices. The scent of ozone and tobacco permeated everything. Virgil sat quietly in the passenger seat as the man drove through the dark without the aid of his headlights. It seemed like they were going north. Virgil stared at the stars before turning to inspect the driver. Even with the dim illumination of the van's dashboard, Virgil could tell the man was massive, well over 6 feet tall with thick black hair styled into a faux hawk. His shoulders were held powerfully in place thanks to his enormous back. His chest jettisoned over his tight stomach, and the black fabric of his pants was pushed to its limits by tree-trunk-like legs. He was wearing a well-fit white dress shirt with short sleeves, exposing his gargantuan arms. They were thicker around than his own thighs, Virgil thought, and covered in scars resembling tree branches. They're called Lichtenberg figures. The man glanced at his forearm and then at Virgil. Nothing gets by you. You're brilliant. It's an important part of why we selected you. Who's we? Let's start with who I am and build from there. My name is Agent Rylos, but you can call me Kai. It's nice to meet you properly, Virgil. Where are you taking me? That depends on how our time together goes. How'd you get the scars? I chose to be brave when faced with uncertainty, and sacrificed myself to save my men. Agent Rylos turned to look at Virgil. The idea of we before me is a precondition for an effective team. So you're military? Yes. Virgil leaned forward, stretching his seatbelt to its maximum. American? Not really. What does that mean? Boundaries, especially the geopolitical ones you're familiar with, aren't as clean-cut as you've been conditioned to believe. Virgil struggled to unpack the cryptic comment. I was in the army at the time, Agent Rylos explained. My unit was pinned down in a trench during a firefight by a bigger and better fortified opposing force with machine guns. But if we stayed in our position, we faced bombardment by a wave of artillery. Do you know what it means to roll up a line? Yes, Virgil answered. It's when you flank an enemy position and attack it from one side. Then the rest of it crumbles as a result. Yes, that's the tactical textbook definition. But in real terms, to preserve my men, I had to assault the right side of my enemy. By yourself? Virgil's eyes widened. A leader is always the first to charge into certain death. Never ask your team to do something you wouldn't do yourself. I relied on stealth to reach the enemy's flank. For the first wave of my attack, I was carrying a pair of contritum ferrum. What does that mean? It's Latin for broken blade. They're double-edged swords in the shape of an S, with a handle in the midsection. I used them to cut my way through the enemy position until their force broke rank and ran. Then my team surged into the fray and rolled up the rest of the line. We didn't lose a single man during that battle. But in the process, I was gifted these scars. The pattern is too symmetrical to be from blades or bullets. I was hit by a directed energy weapon. A Tesla coil? Virgil perked up. Like I said, you're a brilliant young man. I didn't think death rays actually existed. Agent Rylos smiled. Can you keep a secret? Virgil was relaxing now. Yes. Whatever state of technology your government admits to possessing is centuries behind what's really in their arsenal. This sounded like something Art Bell would say. Agent Rylos turned on the overhead dome light. There's a lot about this world you don't understand. Grab that file in front of you. Virgil retrieved a manila folder wedged between the windshield and the dashboard. It was adorned with the heads of 2 howling wolves, surrounded by a wreath of stars. Open it. Inside was a picture of Virgil and extensive writing in an indecipherable script. This looks like Egyptian hieroglyphics. Close. It has a common origin. Do you believe in aliens? Virgil laughed nervously as he flipped through the pages. I guess. From a probability standpoint, it's an inevitability. Why? Agent Rylos faced his passenger. Greetings, Earthling. Once again, the pit of Virgil's stomach turned to knots. I'm a representative of a universal empire known as the Confederation, based in the Vega star system. I've been on Earth for what feels like a lifetime, working with your government to help them prepare to face an alien insurgency known as the Federation. This opposing alien force has set their sights on Earth, and more specifically on its people. My civilization has been fighting the Federation across the universe for an amount of time you can't begin to comprehend. Their invasion of Earth is imminent, and we can't do this alone, which is why we've been searching for you. You have no idea how important you are to stopping them. Virgil's skepticism was getting the best of him. You don't look like an alien to me. As I said, there's a lot about this world that you don't know. What I can tell you at the moment is that we're human. And if you're willing to answer our call for help, you'll learn everything. Prove it. Agent Rylos grinned. All right. He snapped the thumb and middle finger of his right hand, sending a pulse of red plasma through the cab. The environment outside morphed from darkened desert brush to the blinding glare of sunlight reflecting off the vast expanse of a white salt valley. How'd you do that? Virgil's heart was racing faster than the van. Teleportation? No, though that's technologically possible, if not strictly limited for social reasons, as you'll come to understand. You were knocked out for the last 4 hours, a consequence of the drugs I administered through the plasma pulse. In that time, the sun came up and the location changed, but your permeable brain stitched the missing time together into one seamless experience. Virgil attempted to flick his hair, forgetting it wasn't there. How'd you find me in the middle of the desert? At night? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't a coincidence. There was only one vulnerability in Camp Meta's defenses, left there intentionally for someone, for you, to find. The rest was done with deductive reasoning and some predictive modeling based on what we know about you. It was a test, Virgil, and you passed, with the highest possible honors. Virgil's rage was resurfacing. So you're behind the Wilderness Accelerated Schooling Program? WASP is one of many nets we've cast to find individuals like you to help prepare for the Federation's arrival. MK Ultra? Virgil mouthed. Yes, but that's a tiny part. Think of this bigger project as an invisible tree, with roots spreading to every part of your society, not just the government. Black operations, aimed at social engineering, have been a critical component of the work. What's it called? Virgil probed. Project Juno, Agent Rylos answered. My civilization tasked me to come to Earth and recruit exceptionally capable individuals as part of this program, especially children in your age range, to join my team of hunters. That's why we built Camp Meta, so we could sort through the noise of potential candidates and find you. Are you the game caller the supervisors were talking about on the radio? Yes, Agent Rylos admitted. Where is the Federation from? And what do they want? They were a part of my galactic civilization that didn't want to adhere to the consensus of the majority. A schism ensued, and perpetual war has followed. As for their goals, they want to end all material existence in this universe. To do that, they need to control humanity by tricking them into believing it was their own choice to surrender the gifts of this paradise we each experience. Like any rebellious group, they've reverted to deception to force their regressive beliefs on an unwilling populace. Think of them like an interplanetary parent traveling from system to system and guilting childlike civilizations into living the life the Federation desires. The life they think is better than the one the child wants for itself. The situation sounded eerily familiar, Virgil thought as he looked out the window at the salt horizon slowly passing by. The distant mountains were orders of magnitude larger than what surrounded Camp Meta. What would I have to do to join your team? Before I answer that, I have 5 questions for you. They'll help you understand if you're ready. If after that you want to say no, I'll wipe your memory of this whole encounter and send you back to where you were, an escaped killer wandering the Utah desert trying to evade the authorities currently hunting you. But if you say yes, you'll leave Earth and embark on the greatest adventure any human has ever had. What do you say? Virgil chewed on the options. This is your last chance to live the life you've always wanted, Agent Rylos explained. The one you determine. The one you felt you were meant for. All you have to do is commit yourself to this mission. Virgil paused for a moment. What's the first question? I'll only ask each of these once, and you must answer truthfully and completely. Take whatever time you need to form a response. Understood? Got it. First question. What do you want more than anything in life? To be called a genius, Virgil blurted. Second question. Are you afraid of dying? Not anymore. Third question. Could you live the rest of your life and never see your family again? Virgil didn't have to think about this one. Absolutely. Agent Rylos looked Virgil square in the eyes. Fourth question. Would you kill your own parent, if it meant saving the universe? Yes, he replied with the cold calculus of a natural-born killer. Fifth and final question. Do you get motion sickness? No. He snickered at the seeming absurdity of the inquiry. Agent Rylos smiled widely. Thank you for the honesty. Virgil's attention was drawn to the red glow emanating from beneath a solid black ring on the middle finger of Agent Rylos's right hand. It was phasing in and out slowly but steadily. Now what? Virgil asked, setting the dossier back on the dash. If you decide you want to accept my offer, I have a final test for you here on Earth. If you pass, you'll be given a spot in my unit and sent to an artificial planet in the Sirius system called Cryptea. Once there, you'll begin training with my team, directly under me, to hone the skills of a hunter before taking your place at the head of our academy. Then you'll spend the rest of your life training female hunters, one of which will be your sister. Virgil's eyes doubled in size. What? You have a sister? A sister? He choked on his own words. Yes, an older sister to be precise. You don't know her because she was intentionally kept from your family. But don't get too excited, Agent Rylos cautioned. You'll never learn which female trainee is your actual blood relative. Virgil shuffled in his seat. Why not? To ensure you give your best performance to every candidate. Simply put, this way you'll pour yourself into each of them, without the danger of becoming attached to any of them. The introduction of uncertainty is a big part of what makes our program so successful, since it circumvents many of the instinctual inhibitors you've become conditioned to. Like what? Like putting a blood relationship before your community. Or a mission. Virgil slumped into his seat. Who would we hunt? The targets differ. But in the case of your sister, she'll be sent after one of the highest value targets our unit has ever hunted. A young man who represents the most important linchpin in the Federation's carefully crafted plan of universal domination. To kill him? Capture is preferred to containment, which is itself preferred to killing. Life is a gift that should be preserved where possible. But as you'll learn when becoming a hunter, sometimes killing is the only option. In that situation, you have to be brutal and methodical. Virgil's mind was computing all the potential iterations. It was cold enough to see his breath in the van, but he was sweating profusely, causing his back to stick to the vinyl seat. If I say yes, will I ever come back to Earth? No. It's unlikely you'll ever leave Cryptea, at least in physical form. What does that mean? Virgil raised an eyebrow. That's need-to-know information. You'll have to commit to the mission to understand all the unknowns presently omitted from the mental math you're attempting to solve. The agent truly knew who he was. That's my disclosure. We'll arrive at our destination shortly. I'll need your answer, Agent Rylos said, nodding toward a glinting building. That's where your test will take place, assuming you say yes. Virgil didn't need any more time. What's your unit called? Agent Rylos smiled. The Black Star Hunters.